Good morning, everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to share my conversion story. I grew up attending church at a very young age in Jamaica and continued to do so regularly when we moved to the United States. I was baptized at the age of 12 because the message preached was, "You're going to hell if you don't get baptized." I didn't want to go to hell, so I went ahead and got baptized. But at that age, I didn't know much about Jesus or what it meant to follow him. I began a religious journey over the years, and I went to many churches. I tried to pray Jesus into my heart many times. That left me with a feeling of an emotional high, but there was no change in me. The lack of change was evident in my relationships and my marriage because I didn't trust anyone, and I was very defensive. Still, I saw myself as a good girl because I compared myself to others and not to Jesus. Looking back, I had no guidance to help me to learn what it meant to follow Jesus or obey his words. We moved from Houston, Texas to Florida, and things felt better to me in my marriage. But I soon realized that that was a geographical cure. I went back into my old ways and habits, dealing with my hurts, anger, and mistrust, such as yelling, screaming, having fits of rage, and withdrawing from people whom I didn't care to be around anyway. I wanted to be out of my marriage. I was trapped, and I saw my problems as my husband's fault. Looking at my life, it didn't make sense because I had everything: the kids, a house, cars, a boat, and an ambitious husband, but I was lonely and empty inside. One morning on my way to work, I began crying out and screaming on I-95 to God, "Help me find a church." I was at a crossroads where I needed to make some decisions. I was considering ending my marriage at that time. I worked as a behavioral health nurse at a hospital in Hollywood. Within that week of me crying out on 95, a patient came to the nurse's station. She wanted to use the exercise equipment, but the charge nurse told her that she couldn't because we didn't have someone to supervise her. I offered to supervise her at that time. In the exercise room, we had a conversation. I can't remember what she said, but my heart was moved and I began crying. She invited me to church and gave me a card with her phone number, which I still have today. She followed up with me on Saturday, and I attended Sunday service at this very same building. I don't remember the message that was preached, but the singing was amazing. It was angelic, and everyone sang. The second Sunday, she called to follow up to see if I was going to church with her, and I told her I couldn't, but my children really loved the church, so she offered to pick them up. That's when I found out that she was my neighbor in Plantation. We lived in the same neighborhood, walking distance from each other. She later asked me to study the Bible, and I agreed. I thought, I know enough. I can offer my knowledge. But I never even read Genesis chapter 1. Reading the scriptures, it became clear that I had to confront my religious pride. But I still defended my baptism, even though I knew it was for the wrong reasons. I didn't know Jesus, the cost of following him, and I had not repented of my sins. I still kept on thinking that I was good. But then I saw the scriptures which showed me that according to God, my sins, whether they were big or small, omitted or committed, it separated me from him. I could no longer rely on a feeling that I was saved. I needed to surrender to a Savior. I began to understand to live a changed life, I needed to obey God. On June 30th, 1990, I was baptized for the forgiveness of my sins and made Jesus, thank you. I made Jesus Savior and Lord of my life. I am so grateful for my friend who allowed God to use her during her hospitalization when she could have been focused on herself and not her nurse. I am so grateful for Pat Parnell and Cheryl Bowl, who studied the Bible with me. They showed me God's truth, His love, and how to have true friendship. My husband Dexter and I have been married for 36 years. He too is a faithful follower of Christ. And, I must say that I love Dexter more than ever now than I did before. Yeah. In Matthew 6:33, the passage reads, "But seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well." I had what the world valued, but I was empty inside. But God gave me what mattered. Thank you.